I knew something was wrong the moment I woke up on my wedding day. Not the usual jitters that brides get. This was different. A heaviness in my chest, like my body was trying to warn me about something my mind hadn't caught up to yet. The lilies arrived at 9 a.m. I remember checking my phone as the florist knocked, seeing a text from Thomas. "Can't wait to see you walk down the aisle. I love you more than you'll ever know." I should have known then. The people who love you most never feel the need to quantify it. "These are gorgeous," I said to my best friend Cadence as she arranged the bouquets around my hotel suite. The white petals looked so pure against the champagne-colored bridesmaid dresses hanging by the window. "Thomas has good taste," she replied, adjusting a stem. "In flowers and women." I smiled, but something about the way she said it made my stomach twist. Had her voice hitched slightly? Was there something she wasn't telling me? My phone buzzed again. Kimberly, my sister and maid of honor. "Running late. Traffic. Don't panic. Be there in 20. "My sister's running late," I told Cadence, rolling my eyes. Typical Kimberly. "She'll be here," Cadence said, not meeting my eyes. I walked to the bathroom, needing a moment alone. The woman in the mirror looked back at me with uncertainty clouding her eyes. Me, Isla Barnes, about to become Isla Jensen in less than 5 hours. I'd spent 28 years becoming myself, and now I was changing again. My phone buzzed in my hand. Thomas again, but this time the message wasn't for me. "I can't do this to her. We need to talk before the ceremony." My heart stopped. The message preview showed on my lock screen, but when I opened the app, there was nothing there. Wrong conversation, wrong thread. I felt sick. With trembling fingers, I opened his contact and pressed call, straight to voicemail. I tried again, same result. "Cadence," my voice sounded strange even to my own ears. "Can you try calling Thomas?" She appeared in the doorway, concern etched across her face. "Everything okay?" "Just humor me?" She dialed, then frowned. "Voicemail." I nodded, trying to keep my breathing steady. "I need to check something. I'll be right back." "Isla, you can't leave. You're getting your makeup done in 15 minutes. But I was already grabbing my purse, slipping on shoes, moving toward the door with single-minded purpose. "I'll be quick. Cover for me with the makeup artist." The elevator ride to Thomas's suite felt eternal. We'd followed tradition, separate rooms the night before the wedding. How quaint that seemed now, with dread coursing through my veins. I knocked softly at first, then harder when there was no answer. The door to the adjoining room opened instead, and Mohammed, Thomas's best man, peered out. "Isla, what are you—" "Where is he?" I asked, my voice surprisingly calm. Mohammed's expression told me everything. Pity. That's what I saw there. He went for a walk, said he needed to clear his head. "With my sister?" The words hung in the air between us. Mohammed's silence was confirmation enough. "How long have you known?" I asked. He looked at the floor. "I only suspected. I tried to talk to him, but—" "Save it." I pushed past him into Thomas's room. His tux hung pristinely on the closet door. His overnight bag sat open on the luggage rack, toiletries arranged neatly on the bathroom counter, and there, on the nightstand, was his other phone. Yes, his other phone. The one I discovered 2 weeks ago when I borrowed his jacket and felt something hard in the inner pocket. The one with the passcode I'd figured out in seconds because he used the same 4 digits for everything. The one that contained hundreds of messages between him and my sister. I picked it up now, unlocked it, and scrolled through their most recent exchange. "Kay, we can't keep doing this. It's killing me. T, I know, I'm going to tell her. Kay, when? T, today, before the ceremony. Kay, meet me in the garden. 11 a.m. It was 11:17. I walked to the window. From here, I could see the hotel's garden, with its stone pathways and carefully tended flower beds. And there they were, Thomas in his dress shirt and slacks, no jacket, gesturing emphatically. Kimberly in a robe, her hair half done, tears streaming down her face. My sister, my fiancé. I should have screamed, should have thrown things, should have run down there and created a scene. Instead, I felt a strange calm descend over me, like I was watching someone else's life implode. Isla, Mohammed's voice was gentle behind me. I'm so sorry. Don't be, I said, not turning around. I'm not the first bride to be betrayed, and I won't be the last. I took a deep breath, then another, turned away from the window, looked Mohammed directly in the eyes. The ceremony starts at 2 p.m. Make sure he's there. What? But, make sure they're both there, I said, my voice steady. Tell them whatever you need to, but I want everyone in their places when I walk down that aisle. Mohammed stared at me, confusion evident on his face. Isla, you can't possibly still want to go through with the wedding. I smiled then, and something in my expression made him take a step back. Oh, I have no intention of marrying Thomas today, but I knew about their affair long before I ever reached the altar, and now everyone will know too. 2 hours later, I stood just outside the reception hall, my wedding dress like armor around me. The makeup artist had done her job well. No one would guess I'd been crying. My face was a perfect mask of bridal serenity. Are you sure about this? Cadence whispered, adjusting my veil. Her eyes were wide with concern. We could just cancel, tell everyone you're sick, and let them get away with it. I smoothed down the front of my dress. Not a chance. The wedding coordinator gave me a thumbs up from the doorway. The music had started. Not the processional yet, just the soft prelude that would accompany the seating of guests. I could hear the murmur of conversation, the rustle of programs, the occasional laugh. They had no idea what was coming. Did you set it up? I asked Mohammed, who stood awkwardly to the side, loyalty clearly torn. He nodded. The projector's ready, but Isla, this is going to destroy them both. They destroyed me first. My voice didn't even sound like my own anymore. Did Thomas show up? He's at the altar. Looks like he's about to throw up. Good. I'd spent 2 weeks planning this moment. 2 weeks of smiling through final fittings and rehearsal dinners while carrying the weight of their betrayal. 2 weeks of forwarding their messages to my email, taking screenshots, creating a timeline of their affair. Kimberly appeared from around the corner, her bridesmaid dress fitting her perfectly. Of course it did. She'd insisted on the design, claiming it would flatter everyone in the bridal party. Now I understood why she'd been so invested. There you are. She rushed toward me, face flushed. I've been looking everywhere. Are you okay? You disappeared earlier. The audacity, the absolute audacity. I'm fine, I said coolly. Just needed some air. She studied my face. You seem different. Do I? I tilted my head. How strange. The coordinator signaled that it was time. The bridesmaids lined up, Kimberly at the front as maid of honor. She gave me one last look. Was that guilt I saw, before plastering on a smile and stepping through the doorway. My father appeared at my side, offering his arm. Ready, sweetheart? I wasn't, but I would never be more ready than I was in this moment. Actually, Dad, I said quietly, I need to walk in alone. He frowned. That's not the plan. Plans change. I kissed his cheek. Trust me. Confusion clouded his eyes, but he nodded slowly. If that's what you want. The wedding march began. Everyone stood. I took a deep breath and stepped into the doorway. Thomas waited at the altar, handsome in his tuxedo, his face a picture of tortured indecision. Kimberly stood opposite, unable to meet my eyes. 200 guests turned to watch me, their expressions soft with the particular joy reserved for weddings. I didn't move. The music continued, but I remained frozen in the doorway. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Thomas shifted uncomfortably. The officiant looked concerned. Finally, I stepped forward, not down the aisle, but to the side table where a laptop sat connected to the projector. I pressed a single key. The screen behind the altar lit up. A text message appeared, enormous and damning. T, I can't stop thinking about last night. When can I see you again? Then another. Day. This is wrong. She's my sister. And another. T. I've never felt this way about anyone, not even Isla. Gasps echoed through the hall. I pressed another key, and the messages continued to scroll, a digital testament to their betrayal. Dates, times, explicit details, all laid bare before our friends and family. Isla, stop! Thomas had finally found his voice, stepping down from the altar. This isn't what? I cut him off, my voice carrying through the stunned silence. Isn't appropriate. Neither was sleeping with my sister while planning our wedding. Kimberly had crumpled to the floor, sobbing. My mother was on her feet, one hand covering her mouth in horror. My father stood rigid with shock. I trusted you both, I continued, my voice steady despite the hurricane inside me. I loved you both, and this is how you repaid that love. Thomas reached for me. Please, let me explain. I stepped back. There's nothing to explain. The messages speak for themselves. We were going to tell you, Kimberly choked out. Today, before what? I turned to her. Before you let me walk down the aisle, or after you'd watched me pledge my life to a man who couldn't even be faithful before the wedding. The room was utterly silent now. I looked around at the shocked faces of our guests, people who had traveled from across the country to celebrate our love. What a joke. The reception is cancelled, I announced. But please, help yourselves to the champagne. I think we could all use a drink. I turned to leave, then paused. One final twist of the knife. Oh, and Thomas, the honeymoon tickets are non-refundable. Maybe you and Kimberly can go instead. I hear Bali is beautiful this time of year. I walked out, head high, the weight of 200 stairs on my back. In the lobby, I finally let out the breath I'd been holding. My hands were shaking, but my mind was clear. Cadence caught up to me, breathless. I don't even have words. I do, I said, unpinning my veil. Liberation. She looked at me with a mixture of awe and concern. What now? I smiled, and there was nothing warm in it. If they thought I'd quietly disappear, they were sorely mistaken. 3 days after what people were now calling the wedding massacre, I sat in a secluded corner of Riverside Park, watching fallen leaves skitter across the path. The autumn air carried a chill that matched the coldness that had settled in my chest. You're early. The voice came from behind me. I turned to see Jasmine approaching, her dark hair whipping around her face in the breeze. She'd been Kimberly's best friend since college, until some mysterious falling out 2 years ago. I'd always liked her, though we'd never been close. Thanks for meeting me, I said as she sat beside me on the bench. Are you kidding? When you texted, I nearly dropped my phone. She studied my face. How are you holding up? I've been better. I attempted a smile, but I've survived worse than a cheating fiancé and a backstabbing sister. Have you, though? Her directness caught me off guard. I looked away. Maybe not. We sat in silence for a moment, watching a jogger pass by with a golden retriever trotting alongside. So, Jasmine finally said, you want to know why Kimberly and I stopped speaking? I'm guessing it wasn't just a petty argument over borrowed clothes. She laughed without humor. No, it was because of Thomas. My heart stuttered. What? Not like that, she clarified quickly. I never slept with him, but I caught them together 2 years ago, at a conference in Chicago. The timeline hit me like a physical blow. 2 years, they've been on and off from what I gathered. I confronted her about it, told her she needed to come clean to you or I would. She swore it was over, that it had been a mistake. Jasmine's eyes hardened. A week later, she'd systematically turned all our mutual friends against me, claimed I'd tried to seduce her boyfriend at the time. Classic Kimberly deflection. I pressed my palms against my eyes, trying to process this new information. 2 years, not a recent indiscretion, not cold feet before the wedding. 2 years of lies. Why didn't you tell me anyway? I asked, unable to keep the accusation from my voice. I tried calling you once. You never called back. She shrugged. Then I heard you were engaged, and I figured, maybe it really was over between them. Maybe telling you would just cause pain for no reason. I remembered the missed call now, a number I didn't recognize during a hectic week at work. One voicemail I'd deleted without listening to. I should have tried harder, Jasmine admitted. I'm sorry, Isla. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. So, what's your plan? She asked after a moment. The wedding stunt was epic, but knowing Kimberly, she's already spinning it to make herself the victim somehow. She is. I pulled out my phone, showing Jasmine the Instagram post Kimberly had shared yesterday. A black and white selfie, eyes downcast, with a long caption about mistakes, forgiveness, and the complexity of love. It had over 2,000 sympathetic comments. Unbelievable, Jasmine muttered. She always lands on her feet. Not this time. I put my phone away. I want to make sure they both lose something that actually matters to them. Like what? Thomas is up for partner at his firm. The decision comes down next month. Jasmine raised an eyebrow. And you know something that could derail that? I know he's been falsifying billable hours. I found spreadsheets on his laptop, the real ones versus what he submits to the partners. That's actually serious, like career-ending serious. I nodded. And Kimberly's been shortlisted for that curator position at the Brennan Gallery. Her dream job, Jasmine mused. What's your angle there? I'm not sure yet. That's partly why I wanted to talk to you. You know her better than almost anyone. Jasmine was quiet for a long moment, picking at a loose thread on her sleeve. Can I ask you something, Isla? What's your end game here? Will ruining their careers actually make you feel better? The question caught me off guard. Would it? I honestly didn't know. I just want them to understand what they've done, I said finally. I want them to lose something they care about, the way I lost something I cared about. And then what? Then I move on, I guess. Jasmine studied me with an intensity that made me uncomfortable. You know what made me finally get over what Kimberly did to me? Realizing that carrying that anger was like drinking poison and expecting her to die. That's very zen of you, I said, unable to keep the edge from my voice. But I'm not there yet. I get it. She stood up, brushing leaves from her jeans. I'll help you, Isla, but just be careful. Revenge has a way of changing people. As if I hadn't already been changed irrevocably. There's one more thing you should know, Jasmine said, her expression darkening. The affair wasn't the only betrayal. What do you mean? The startup Thomas invested in last year? The one that's about to go public? I nodded. Everyone knew about it. Thomas had put in a significant chunk of our wedding fund, promising it would triple before the big day. He'd been right. Kimberly's name is on those investment documents too. They've been business partners all along. The world seemed to tilt beneath me. It wasn't just sex. It wasn't just emotions. They had been building a future together, financially, practically, while I planned our wedding. How do you know this? I managed to ask. I still have friends at Kimberly's firm. The paperwork crossed someone's desk. Jasmine's eyes held genuine sympathy. I'm sorry, Isla. I stood up, suddenly needing to move, to do something with the energy coursing through me. Don't be sorry, I said, my resolve hardening. Be ready. The web they've spun is about to tangle them beyond belief. The autumn chill seeped through my coat as I stared at the email on my phone, my third attempt at revenge fizzling before my eyes. Ms. Barnes, while we appreciate your concerns regarding Thomas Jensen's professional conduct, we require more substantial evidence before proceeding with any investigation. Without documentation of the alleged billing discrepancies, we cannot take action. I deleted the email with a frustrated tap. The managing partner at Thomas's law firm wasn't going to act on an anonymous tip, and I'd been too cautious to attach my name or the actual evidence. The spreadsheets I'd mentioned to Jasmine were on Thomas's password-protected laptop, not in my possession. Strike one. My attempt to contact the Brennan Gallery's board about Kimberly's questionable professional ethics had similarly stalled. They'd politely informed me that her personal life had no bearing on her curatorial capabilities. Strike two. And just yesterday, my carefully orchestrated plan to have their investment connection exposed through a financial blogger had fallen apart when the blogger demanded proof I couldn't provide. Strike 3. You look like you're plotting someone's murder, Mohammed said, sliding into the booth across from me. The coffee shop buzzed with midday energy around us. Not murder, just mild career destruction. I put my phone away. Thanks for meeting me. Mohammed had been Thomas's best man and one of his closest friends since college. That he'd agreed to see me at all was surprising. I almost didn't come, he admitted, as if reading my thoughts. Thomas would lose his mind if he knew. Are you still speaking to him? Mohammed sighed, running a hand over his close-cropped hair. Barely. What he did was messed up, Isla. I told him that. A small vindication, but I'd take it. Have you been talking to anyone? He asked, genuine concern in his eyes. A therapist, maybe. I'm fine. You don't look fine. You look exhausted. I was. Sleep had become a luxury I couldn't afford. My nights spent cycling through anger, plotting, and occasional bouts of devastating grief. I'm handling it, I insisted. The barista called Mohammed's name, and he went to retrieve our drinks. I watched him chat easily with her, his natural warmth evident even in this brief interaction. He'd always been the peacemaker in our group, the one who made sure everyone felt included. 1 oat milk latte, he said, placing it before me. Still your favorite, right? I nodded, touched that he remembered. Isla, he began carefully, I need to ask, what are you hoping to accomplish here? With all these attempts at payback? Justice, I said automatically. Is that what this is? I stirred my latte, avoiding his gaze. They humiliated me in front of everyone we know. They betrayed me for years. They were building a future together while I was picking out wedding centerpieces. I know, and it's unforgivable. He leaned forward. But this path you're on, it's changing you. Maybe I needed to change. Into someone consumed by revenge. That's not the Isla I know. The Isla you know was a fool, I snapped, louder than intended. A few heads turned our way. I lowered my voice. She trusted people who didn't deserve it. Mohammed was quiet for a moment. Thomas came to see me last night. He was drunk, crying. Something twisted in my chest. Am I supposed to feel sorry for him? No, but he said something that's been bothering me. He said you knew about them before the wedding, that you found his other phone 2 weeks earlier. I stiffened. So, why go through with the ceremony at all? Why not just confront them when you found out? The question hung between us. I'd asked myself the same thing during sleepless nights, because a private confrontation would have been too easy for them, I finally said. They would have apologized, cried, begged forgiveness. Kimberly would have played the confused little sister led astray. Thomas would have blamed cold feet or temporary insanity. And you wanted them to suffer more publicly. I wanted consequences they couldn't charm their way out of. Mohammed studied me. And now? What do you want now? The truth slipped out before I could stop it. I don't know anymore. My phone buzzed with a text from Jasmine. Found something. Call me ASAP. I should go, I said, gathering my things. Mohammed caught my wrist gently. Isla, wait. There's something else you should know. The seriousness in his tone made me pause. Thomas isn't just upset about the wedding. He's worried about what else you might know. About what? The startup investment. There's something not right about it. He wouldn't give details, but he's terrified of an audit. My pulse quickened. Did he say why? No, but whatever it is, it's big enough that he's talking about leaving the country for a while. This was it, the thread I needed to pull. When? Soon. Days, not weeks. I stood up, my mind racing. Thanks for telling me. I'm not telling you so you can use it against him, Mohammed said, his expression troubled. I'm telling you because I'm worried about you getting caught in the fallout. Whatever they're involved in, it might be bigger than you realize. I can handle it. Can you? Because from where I'm sitting, you've spent the last week trying and failing to exact revenge instead of actually processing what happened. His words hit harder than I wanted to admit. Maybe I'm not ready to process it yet, I said quietly, and maybe that's exactly what you need to do. He stood too, facing me. The Ela I know is stronger than this. She doesn't need revenge to move forward. I wanted to believe him. Part of me even knew he was right. But another part, the part that woke up every morning with the image of Thomas and Kimberly together, couldn't let go. I appreciate your concern, I said, stepping back, but some shadows are more tenacious than others. You're absolutely sure about this? I asked Jasmine, staring at the documents spread across her kitchen table. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows through her apartment windows. The paper trail doesn't lie. She tapped a highlighted section of the investment agreement. Thomas and Kimberly didn't just invest in this startup, they're using it to launder money. My stomach lurched. This was far beyond billing fraud or ethical violations. This was criminal. But where's the money coming from? I asked. That's the million-dollar question. Jasmine pushed another document toward me. But whatever it is, it's big enough that they created shell companies to hide it. And look who else is involved. I followed her finger to a signature at the bottom of the page. Martin Reeves, Thomas's boss and the managing partner, who had dismissed my anonymous tip. Holy shit, I whispered. This goes way beyond your sister sleeping with your fiancé, Isla. You've stumbled onto something dangerous. I sat back, trying to process the implications. No wonder my earlier attempts at revenge had failed. I'd been trying to expose twigs while there was an entire forest of corruption. What exactly did your friend at the financial firm say? I asked. That the SEC has been quietly investigating this group for months. They don't have enough evidence yet, but they're circling. The coffee shop bell jingled as the door opened. I glanced up automatically, then froze. Kimberly stood in the entrance, scanning the cafe. Her eyes locked with mine, widening in surprise. For a moment, neither of us moved. Speak of the devil, Jasmine muttered. I hadn't seen my sister since the wedding. She looked thinner, her usually perfect appearance slightly frayed at the edges. Without makeup, the shadows under her eyes were pronounced. To my shock, she walked directly to our table. Isla, she said, her voice carefully neutral. I've been trying to reach you. I've been busy. I began gathering the documents, sliding them into Jasmine's folder. With what? Planning your next public humiliation. There was a bitter edge to her words. That's rich coming from you. Kimberly's eyes flicked to Jasmine, then back to me. Can we talk? Privately? Anything you have to say, you can say in front of Jasmine. Fine. She pulled out a chair and sat uninvited. Thomas is planning to leave the country. Tonight. My heart skipped. Mohammed mentioned he might. Did Mohammed also mention that Thomas is planning to take all the investment money with him, including your portion? I stared at her. My portion? The wedding fund. Your savings that he convinced you to invest. She leaned forward. He's cutting me out too, Isla. He's taking everything. Jasmine made a skeptical noise. And we're supposed to believe you suddenly care about Isla's financial well-being. Kimberly ignored her, keeping her eyes on me. I know you hate me. You have every right to. But Thomas is screwing us both now, and I thought you should know. I studied my sister's face, searching for the tells I'd known since childhood. The slight flutter of her eyelids when she lied. The way she touched her collarbone when she was hiding something. But her gaze remained steady. Why would he cut you out? I asked. You're his partner in all this. Something flickered across her face. Things changed after the wedding, after what you did. After what I did, I laughed incredulously. You mean exposing the truth? You have no idea what you've done, she hissed, suddenly intense. The people involved in this investment, they don't tolerate public attention. Thomas is running because he's scared, and he should be. A chill ran through me. What people, Kimberly? Who exactly are you involved with? She glanced nervously around the cafe. I can't talk about it here. Convenient, Jasmine muttered. Kimberly reached across the table, grabbing my wrist. Her fingers were ice cold. Isla, listen to me. Whatever you think of me right now, I'm trying to help you. Thomas has a meeting at the Westlake Hotel at 7 tonight, room 412. He's collecting the last payment before he disappears. And you're telling me this out of sisterly concern? I pulled my hand away. I'm telling you because you deserve to get your money back. She stood up. What you do with this information is up to you. As she turned to leave, I called after her. Why should I believe anything you say? She paused, looking back with an expression I couldn't read. Because despite everything, you're still my sister, and I've done enough damage. The door closed behind her with a soft chime. Well, that was dramatic, Jasmine said after a moment. You don't actually believe her, do you? I stared at the door, my thoughts racing. I don't know, but if Thomas is really leaving tonight... This could be a trap, Isla. She could be setting you up. Or she could be telling the truth. I checked my watch, 5:30 p.m. There's only one way to find out. Jasmine grabbed my arm. You can't seriously be thinking of going to that hotel. I need to know what's happening. And if there's any chance of getting my money back... This isn't about money anymore, Jasmine insisted. These documents suggest serious criminal activity. We should take this to the authorities. She was right. The rational thing would be to walk away, let the legal system handle it. But something in Kimberly's eyes had gotten to me. Genuine fear. Not for herself, but for me. I'll be careful, I promised, gathering my things. I'll just observe from a distance. If anything seems off, I'll leave immediately. Jasmine looked unconvinced. At least let me come with you. No, if this is dangerous, I'm not dragging you into it. Isla, I need to do this, Jasmine. I met her gaze steadily. But I promise to call you the second I'm done. She reluctantly nodded. Fine, but remember what I said about revenge changing people. Don't let it change you into someone who takes stupid risks. As I stepped outside into the gathering dusk, I realized with startling clarity that this had stopped being about revenge somewhere along the way. Now it was about truth, and perhaps, in some strange way, about protecting the sister who had betrayed me. Some alliances, it seemed, were forged in fire. The Westlake Hotel lobby hummed with quiet luxury, plush carpets muffling footsteps, crystal chandeliers casting warm light over leather armchairs. I sat in a corner, nursing an overpriced gin and tonic, watching the elevator bank through the reflection in a decorative mirror. 6:55 p.m. My pulse quickened as the minute hand ticked closer to 7. I'd changed into a black dress and heels, hair pulled back, anonymous enough to blend with the hotel's upscale clientele, yet put together enough that no one would question my presence. The perfect disguise, a woman waiting for someone who wasn't coming. The elevator doors opened. Thomas stepped out, his familiar tall frame instantly recognizable. He wore a charcoal suit I'd never seen before, carrying a slim leather briefcase. His face looked gaunt, the confident swagger I once found attractive, replaced by furtive glances. He headed for the elevators, serving the higher floors, not noticing me in my shadowed corner. I waited 30 seconds, then followed. The fourth-floor corridor was silent, thick carpet swallowing my footsteps. I moved carefully past numbered doors until I reached 412. Pressing my ear against the cool wood, I heard muffled voices inside, Thomas's distinctive baritone and another man's deeper rumble. Not what we agreed, the stranger was saying. The full amount was due today. I know. Thomas's voice had that placating tone I'd heard him use with difficult clients. But with everything that's happened, my wedding, the publicity, your personal problems don't concern us. I just need 2 more days. The final transfers are processing. A heavy silence followed. Mr. Jensen. The man's voice dropped lower, forcing me to press harder against the door. Our organization has been very patient. That patience has limits. My heart hammered against my ribs. Kimberly's warning echoed in my mind. The people involved in this investment, they don't tolerate public attention. The door handle turned suddenly. I jerked back, looking frantically for somewhere to hide. Too late. The door swung open, revealing a broad-shouldered man with silver temples and cold eyes. He assessed me with a single glance. "It seems we have company," he said over his shoulder. Thomas appeared behind him, his face draining of color when he saw me. "Isla? What the hell are you doing here?" My mind raced for a plausible explanation. "I was looking for you. The front desk said you were in this room." The silver-haired man smiled thinly. "A friend of yours, Mr. Jensen?" Thomas swallowed visibly. "My ex-fiancé." "How interesting." He stepped aside. "Please join us." It wasn't a request. I entered the room on wooden legs, adrenaline flooding my system. The suite was spacious, with a sitting area where papers were spread across a coffee table. A laptop glowed with spreadsheets I recognized from Jasmine's documents. "Martin Reeves," the man introduced himself, extending a hand. "I believe you contacted my office recently." I froze. Thomas's boss. The managing partner, whose signature I'd seen on those documents. "I don't know what you're talking about," I managed. "No?" His smile didn't reach his eyes. "An anonymous tip about Thomas's billing practices. That wasn't you." Thomas stared at me. "You did what?" "Perhaps we should all sit down," Martin suggested, gesturing to the sofa. "It seems we have much to discuss." I remained standing. "Actually, I should go. This was a mistake. I'm afraid I must insist." Martin's tone hardened as he closed the door behind me. "Especially given your recent investigation into our investment activities." My blood turned to ice. How could he possibly know about that? "Isla, what have you done?" Thomas whispered, genuine fear in his eyes. "Me? What have you done?" I turned to face him fully. "Money laundering, Thomas. Shell companies. Was that before or after you started sleeping with my sister?" Martin sighed. "Domestic drama. How tedious." He moved to the window, looking out at the city lights. "Ms. Barnes, I'll be direct. You've become a problem. Your wedding spectacle created unwanted attention. Your subsequent digging has created risk." "I haven't told anyone anything," I lied. "No, not even your new friend Jasmine Hunt, or perhaps Mohammed Robinson." The casual mention of my friend sent a chill down my spine. He'd been watching me. "What do you want?" I asked, struggling to keep my voice steady. "For you to disappear." He turned back to face me. "Not permanently, of course, just away, a long vacation perhaps, with the appropriate financial incentive." "You're trying to buy me off?" "I'm offering you an opportunity to walk away unscathed." He nodded toward the briefcase. $500,000. Tax-free. More than enough to start fresh somewhere pleasant. My mind reeled. This was surreal. Being offered a bribe in a hotel room by my ex-fiancé's corrupt boss. "And if I refuse?" Martin's expression hardened. "Then I cannot guarantee your safety, or the safety of those you've involved." The threat hung in the air, clear and chilling. Thomas stepped forward. "Isla, please, take the money, walk away." I looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time since entering the room. The man I'd planned to marry was terrified, a cornered animal willing to sacrifice anyone to save himself. "You're pathetic," I whispered. "I'm a survivor," he countered. The clock on the wall ticked loudly in the silence that followed. I had seconds to decide. Take the money and run, or stand my ground and face whatever consequences came. "I need to think," I said finally. Martin checked his watch. "You have until midnight, not a minute longer." He picked up the briefcase, holding it out to me. "Consider this a good faith deposit. The rest comes when you provide proof you've left the city." My hand trembled as I took the case. It was heavier than I expected, the weight of corruption made tangible. "I'll expect your answer by phone," Martin said, writing a number on the hotel notepad. "Come alone. Tell no one about our conversation." As I left the room on unsteady legs, Thomas caught my arm. "Isla," he murmured, his voice strained. "Whatever you decide, I'm sorry. For everything." I pulled away without answering. In the elevator, I leaned against the wall, my reflection fractured in the mirrored panels. A woman I barely recognized, holding blood money and facing an impossible choice. The truth was clear now. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about survival. And in justice, there are no black and white choices. The briefcase sat on my coffee table like a ticking bomb. I hadn't opened it, couldn't bring myself to look at the money that was supposed to buy my silence and safety. My apartment felt foreign around me, as if I'd stepped into someone else's life. My phone buzzed for the 5th time. Jasmine again. I'd been ignoring her calls since leaving the hotel, needing space to think. But time was running out. The clock on my wall read 10:37 p.m., less than an hour and a half until Martin's deadline. When my doorbell rang, I nearly jumped out of my skin. Through the peephole, I saw Mohammed standing in the hallway, concern etched across his face. "Jasmine sent me," he said when I opened the door. "She's worried sick. You promised to call her after the hotel." I stepped back to let him in. I needed to think. His eyes landed on the briefcase. What happened? The whole story spilled out. Martin's threats, the bribe, the midnight deadline. With each word, the weight on my chest grew lighter, as if speaking the truth aloud was itself a form of resistance. Mohammed listened without interrupting, his expression growing increasingly grave. "This is way over our heads, Isla," he said when I finished. "These people are dangerous. You need to go to the police." "With what? I have no proof. It's my word against a respected managing partner and my ex-fiancé." I gestured to the briefcase. "And now I've accepted money from them. How does that look? Better than being found dead in your apartment." His bluntness startled me. Martin Reeves doesn't make empty threats. My phone buzzed again, a text this time from an unknown number. "Have you made your decision?" "That's him," I whispered. Mohammed read the message over my shoulder. "Tell him you'll take the deal. Buy yourself some time." "And then what? Run? Hide? Let them get away with everything?" "Yes, if it keeps you alive." I shook my head. "I can't. Not after everything." "This isn't about Thomas and Kimberly anymore. This is about—" "It was never just about them," I interrupted. "It was about justice. About consequences for actions. About not letting people walk all over me." My phone rang. "Kimberly." I stared at her name on the screen, torn between answering and ignoring her like I had Jasmine. "You should take it," Mohammed said quietly. I accepted the call, putting it on speaker. "What do you want?" "Where are you?" Kimberly's voice was tight with tension. "Are you home?" "Why?" "Listen to me very carefully. Martin's men are coming for you. They don't trust you to take the deal." My blood ran cold. "How do you know this?" "Because I'm with Thomas. He just got the order to clean out the office, destroy all evidence. They're tying up loose ends, Isla. That includes you." Mohammed was already moving, checking the locks on my windows. "How much time do we have?" he called. "Who's that?" Kimberly asked sharply. "Mohammed, he's here with me." "Good, you're not alone." She exhaled audibly. "I don't know how much time. Not long. You need to get out of there. Why are you helping me?" I couldn't keep the suspicion from my voice. "You chose Thomas over me. You chose the money." "And it was the biggest mistake of my life." Her voice cracked. "I can't undo what I did to you, but I can try to keep you safe." Mohammed returned to my side. "We need to go. Now." "Where?" I asked, panic rising. "If they're watching the building—" "My car's in the back alley. If we move fast, we might make it." Kimberly spoke urgently. "Isla, listen. Thomas made copies of everything. All the transactions, the shell companies, the client list. It's insurance. He has it on a drive." "Where?" "He won't tell me, but it exists. If you can find it—" The line went dead. "Kimberly?" I tried calling back. Nothing. "We don't have time," Mohammed insisted, grabbing my coat from the hook. "We need to move." A plan crystallized in my mind. The office. If Thomas is destroying evidence, the drive must be there. "Are you insane? That's exactly where they'll be." "It's also where the proof is." I grabbed the briefcase. This was never about running. It's about fighting back. 20 minutes later, We pulled up a block from Thomas's law firm. The building was mostly dark, just security lights and a few scattered offices still illuminated, including the corner office on the 14th floor, Thomas's. "This is suicide," Mohammed muttered as we approached the service entrance. "They could be waiting for us. Then go. I'll do this alone." He caught my arm. "That's not what I meant. I'm with you, Isla. I just want you to understand the risk." The security guard recognized me from my many visits during my engagement. "Ms. Barnes, didn't expect to see you here this late." "Forgot something in Thomas's office," I said, forcing a smile. "Wedding planning binder. Awkward, I know, but I need it for the vendor cancellations." He nodded sympathetically. "Go on up. Mr. Jensen's still here." The elevator ride was excruciating, each floor bringing us closer to confrontation. Mohammed squeezed my hand. "Whatever happens, follow my lead if things go south." Thomas's office door was ajar, light spilling into the darkened hallway. I could hear papers rustling, drawers opening and closing. Taking a deep breath, I pushed the door open. Thomas stood by the shredder, feeding documents into its hungry mouth. He looked up, freezing when he saw me. "Isla." His eyes darted to Mohammed, then to the briefcase in my hand. "What are you doing here?" "Looking for the truth." I stepped into the office. "And the drive." His face paled. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Yes, you do. Your insurance policy." "Where is it?" A tense silence stretched between us. Then, unexpectedly, Thomas laughed, a hollow, defeated sound. "You know what's funny? I was going to send it to you. Anonymous package, no return address." He sank into his chair. "Guess I'm not as heartless as you think." "Where is it, Thomas?" He reached for his watch, twisting the face to reveal a tiny compartment. Inside was a micro SD card no bigger than my fingernail. "Everything's here. Dates, amounts, names." He held it out, including Martin's clients. Very powerful, very dangerous people. As my fingers closed around the card, the office door slammed shut behind us. Martin stood there, a gun held casually at his side. "I'm disappointed, Thomas," he said softly. "I thought you were smarter than this." Thunderous applause erupted in my mind as I realized this moment, this confrontation, was exactly what I'd been moving toward all along. Not revenge, justice. "They never expected the real storm," I said, meeting Martin's cold gaze. And neither did I. Time slowed as Martin raised the gun. Mohammed stepped in front of me, but I gently moved him aside. This was my confrontation to face. "You won't shoot us," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "Not here in Thomas's office, where the evidence would be impossible to explain away." Martin's smile was cold. "You've watched too many movies, Ms. Barnes. People disappear all the time." "True," I conceded, "but most people don't take precautions before meeting with criminals." I pulled out my phone, showing him the live broadcast icon. "I've been streaming this entire conversation to a private server. If anything happens to us, it goes public automatically." His eyes narrowed, assessing whether I was bluffing. I wasn't. Jasmine had set it up after I texted her from the car, a simple app that would release everything if I didn't enter a code every hour. Additionally, I continued, copies of everything on this drive have already been sent to 3 separate attorneys with instructions to release them if any of us go missing. This part was a lie, but Martin couldn't know that. Thomas stared at me with something like admiration. "You've thought of everything." "I learned from the best," I replied without looking at him. "Betrayal makes for an excellent teacher." Martin lowered the gun slightly. "What do you want?" "For starters, you're going to call off your men who are looking for me and my sister." "Your sister," Martin repeated, his expression shifting. "Interesting that you'd include her in your protection." "Family is complicated," I said simply. Mohammed moved toward the door, positioning himself to block any escape attempt. "The police will be here in about 10 minutes. Anonymous tip about suspicious activity." Martin's composure cracked slightly. "You're bluffing." "Maybe," Mohammed shrugged. Want to wait and find out? The standoff stretched, tension crackling between us. I could almost see Martin calculating his options, weighing risks against rewards. Even if you expose us, he said finally, you'll never be safe. The people I work for don't forgive. I'm willing to take that chance. I set the briefcase on Thomas's desk, unlatched it. Stacks of cash lay inside, exactly as promised. I'm keeping this, by the way. Consider it compensation for emotional damages. Thomas made a strangled sound. That's $500,000. Yes, I agreed. A small fraction of what you stole, I imagine. A siren wailed in the distance, growing louder. Martin's face hardened. This isn't over, he warned, backing toward the door. Actually, it is. I held up the micro SD card. Everything ends tonight. Mohammed blocked his path. You're not going anywhere. What happened next unfolded in seconds. Martin lunged, Mohammed deflected, and the gun clattered to the floor. They grappled, crashing into a bookshelf. I dove for the weapon, my fingers closing around cold metal, just as Thomas reached for it. Our eyes met over the gun. Don't, I warned. Something shifted in his expression, resignation perhaps, or the final death of whatever we'd once been to each other. I did love you, he said quietly. That part wasn't a lie. It doesn't matter anymore. The siren stopped outside the building. Footsteps pounded in the hallway. Not police, but security responding to the noise. It's over, Thomas, I said. All of it. He nodded slowly, stepping back with his hands raised. I know. The security guard burst in, taking in the scene with wide eyes. Martin pinned against the wall by Mohammed. Thomas standing with his hands up, me holding a gun. Ms. Barnes, he stammered. What's happening? I carefully set the gun down. These men are involved in a money laundering operation. The police are on their way. Don't let anyone leave. More sirens approached. This time it really was the police. In the chaos that followed, statements, evidence collection, arrests, I found myself sitting alone in the conference room, watching the sunrise through floor-to-ceiling windows. The adrenaline had worn off, leaving me hollow and exhausted. The door opened. Kimberly stood there, her face pale but resolute. They found me at Thomas's apartment, she explained. I've been giving a statement for hours. I nodded, too drained for anger. Did you tell them everything? Yes. She hesitated, then sat across from me. I'm probably going to jail, Isla. Probably. Silence stretched between us, 2 decades of sisterhood and one terrible betrayal hanging in the balance. I don't expect you to forgive me, she said finally. I wouldn't, in your position. I don't know if I can, I admitted, but I don't want to hate you anymore. It's exhausting. She nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. For what it's worth, I hate myself enough for both of us. A detective appeared in the doorway. Ms. Barnes, we're ready for you now. I stood, gathering the last of my strength. Which one of us? Both, actually, separately. Kimberly rose too, wiping her tears. Isla, before we go in, thank you for the warning, for trying to protect me despite everything. I looked at my sister, really looked at her, for the first time since the betrayal. Behind the makeup and perfect hair had always been a girl desperate for validation, willing to sacrifice anything for approval, including me. We'll talk, I said, after all this is over. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a door left slightly ajar. In the hallway, Mohammed waited with 2 cups of coffee. He handed one to me, his fingers brushing mine. You were incredible in there, he said quietly. I had good backup. His smile was warm, genuine. What happens now? I took a sip of coffee, considering the question. The future stretched before me, unwritten and uncertain. The revenge I'd sought had transformed into something else entirely. Not just justice for myself, but for others who might have been harmed. Now? I watched as Thomas was led away in handcuffs, our eyes meeting briefly across the room. No anger remained, just a quiet certainty that I had survived the worst betrayal and emerged stronger. Now I rebuild, but on my terms this time. Mohammed nodded, understanding in his eyes. One day at a time. One truth at a time, I corrected, feeling the first fragile tendrils of peace taking root where bitterness had reigned. The storm had passed, leaving clarity in its wake. Perhaps the strongest justice, after all, was healing,